Greetings and salutations, my friends, and welcome to a new reading vlog. I am so excited about today because I cannot remember the last time I did a themed reading vlog challenge, reading vlog where we could explore our shelves in a little bit of a different way. And as I have gotten back into content, I have kind of gone into the slow reading vlogs, daily reading vlogs, or even one-shot sort of vlogs that don't really require any more than 2 to 3 days to film. And yet, today I woke up with the feeling of wanting a little bit of a challenge. And so I thought, what better way to choose my reading for the next week than to let Pinterest choose what I read. I have seen this vlog concept everywhere. I feel like a lot of people have gone about choosing their reads this way, and it always looks very fun. I primarily use Pinterest for looking for a recipe. It comes in really handy for my meal prepping, or even for my crocheting when I need ideas. I use Pinterest for all of those things, but I rarely go in there to look for book recs. Sometimes I get, again, aesthetic pictures and boards alluding to a specific book, and while it does make me want to read the book, I rarely actually follow that gut instinct. And so today I am allowing that to take me full force and to choose what I read for the next week. We might end up reading 2, 3, 4 books. I really don't know what the next week has in store for us. We are going to choose the books as I finish them. So today we are going to pick our very first book. I am going to read that however long it takes, and then once I finish that book, we'll choose the next one, and so on and so forth. So hopefully this will also help me stay within my mood reading parameters I want to follow for July, because I am not building a July TBR, and just let the wind take me wherever it needs to, and hopefully we'll land at some really great books. It is up to choice and fate. And before we get started with today's video as well, I do want to give a massive shout out to the sponsor of today's video, which is Surfshark VPN. You guys know I love going out to coffee shops, I love working remotely, I love accessing content that I can't necessarily access here in Panama, and the only way to not only browse safely but to also change my IP address to be able to access different libraries is with a VPN, which is why Surfshark VPN is absolutely perfect for this specific endeavor and everything that I like doing on a daily basis. It is incredibly important to keep your online identity safe and also encrypt all of your data so that no cyber criminals, no big corporations can access any of your information, because it is literally a goldmine for them to sell this data or to use it for their own benefit, which is why a virtual private network, a VPN, is incredibly helpful to make sure that you are browsing the internet safely, meaning your IP address will be switched to a new one in a completely different country to make sure that you are covered. This essentially encrypts your data so that nobody can access it, and you can trust that if you're accessing public Wi-Fi or even the one in the comfort of your own home, will allow you to go about using the internet safely and without having to worry. Another one of the huge benefits of using something like Surfshark VPN is that, let's say you want to watch a Studio Ghibli movie, but you wouldn't be able to because it's not on Netflix in your country. Let's say that you use a VPN to switch your IP address to that of Panama, and you would be able to access every single Studio Ghibli film through Netflix. With Surfshark as well, they always want to make sure that you feel like you're getting a bang for your buck. So if you do decide to open up your account with them and decide that down the line you didn't particularly love the service, they do have a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you would like to check Surfshark VPN out and access their over 3,200 different servers in over 100 different countries, that's a lot of IP addresses to be able to switch to, make sure that you click the link at the top of the description or go to surfshark.com/Mel and use code MEL to get 4 extra free months of Surfshark VPN. And let's get right on over to Pinterest, because we gotta choose what we're gonna read today, because we are going to, coincidentally enough, a coffee shop to read. So you already know, Surfshark is gonna keep us safe, but we gotta choose what we're gonna be reading. Welcome to the desk area, everybody. It is time to get into Pinterest and see exactly what they've got to offer with these books. I'm a little bit scared because I definitely don't know what's gonna come up. What I do know is that out of this video, I would like there to be books in Pinterest especially the ones that I end up choosing, that are books already in my unread shelves, meaning this shelf unit right here, which is my unread one. I would love to get through more of my unread books, figure out if I like them, if I don't, if I DNF them, if I read them, what the vibes are all together. And so you will see me likely ignore a lot of the books that will come up that I do not own, even though I would love to buy a new book and that I would love to engage with certain books that I know sound super interesting and that have really beautiful covers. I know realistically, responsibly, I have got to go for the things already on my shelves. So that is the goal for today, is to find something already in my shelves. It doesn't matter if it's a second book in a series, it doesn't matter if it's the first book in a series, it doesn't matter if it's a standalone. I don't care. I don't care about the genre, I don't care about the age group. I really just want good books out of this. That is my goal for this video. And so we'll see what we end up finding. Welcome to my Pinterest. As you can see, it is a lot of food, a lot of crocheting, and not a whole lot of anything else, because those are the two main things that I use it for. I do immediately see something in my Explore page. Is that what it's called? I'm not sure. I immediately see two books that I could technically choose. So we have got the Hurricane Wars, which I do own, and we also have a Monsoon Rising. I could technically choose that because I already have the Hurricane Wars in my physical TBR. We have just pinned it just in case I want to go back to this. I also obviously see many other things here on the right-hand side that we could be choosing. However, my main plan going into this, knowing that I wasn't going to get that many books in my main page, just because that's not what I use Pinterest the most for, is to just look up the word book recommendations and see what comes up. My favorite word, book recommendations, and see what comes up and if it's got anything good to recommend to us and what we find. So I think that's gonna be the first one that we go into. And I might change the thing I look up every time I'm choosing a new book. So today I could choose book recommendations, and then the next time I could do book aesthetic, and then the next time I could just do book, and we can go from there. So let us see what we find through that. Hopefully we find something. Let us look up book recommendations and see what comes up. And I already see something that I do own. The first thing that comes up is the Rainfall Market, which I have seen do some rounds recently, and I think people have been really loving it. It is Korean translated fiction, which I love. I don't own it, however, though the cover is really amazing. Then we have got The Garden of Lost and Found, which I also do not own. However, the very next picture is the Before the Coffee Gets Cold series. And that is a series I have not picked up in a hot second. I read Before the Coffee Gets Cold 3 years ago, actually. I think I read it the year I moved, and I do own books 2 and 3. I don't know why I own books 2 and 3, because I never even read the second one, but I did rate the first one, I think, 5 stars. I think this might be the thing we end up picking up today, because I do have Before the Coffee Gets Cold Tales from the Cafe, which is book 2, and that'll not only make us progress in a series, but we can also talk about it quite nicely because it is a collection of short stories, essentially. Even though it does kind of bind up into a single thread, it essentially can be spoken about without referencing the first one too much. So I think that sounds nice. And again, we make progress in a series, which is always lovely. Let us pick out Before the Coffee Gets Cold from the shelves, and we can start reading this today. This book totals a full 192 pages, so it is incredibly short. I definitely think it's something that, because I don't have anything to do this afternoon and evening, I also have a free morning tomorrow. I think we might be able to finish it either by tonight or tomorrow, which would be lovely because then we get to pick a new book and keep exploring the shelves based on what Pinterest says. I am really excited about this. I will definitely update you about this when I get a solid bits into it, give you a full synopsis, obviously tell you what the series is about. But for right now, let us change sceneries. I do want to go out to a coffee shop today. I haven't gone to a coffee shop in a hot second, so I definitely want to head out today, have a nice cozy afternoon, do some reading. Because this is set at a coffee shop, I think it's perfect that I read it at a coffee shop myself. So I am going to pack my little bag and we're going to head out, and I will likely just update you either when I'm there or when I'm back, depending on what the mood and the ambience is and how many people is around me, because I definitely am always on the fence about filming people, you guys already know. So I am going to grab everything. Let us do that. Let us head out and let us see what Before the Coffee Gets Cold, Tales from the Cafe has in store for us, hopefully. Hopefully, fingers crossed, all good things. Hello friends, welcome back home. I have got updates for you for Tales from the Cafe. I started this while I was at the coffee shop, and while I did record an update over there were a lot of people around me, and it was very awkward because they were looking my way, even though none of them were on frame. All of them just kept looking at me, and I felt very uncomfortable recording that update. So I don't know what that looks like yet because it's obviously in my other camera, but I figured let me get back home and record another update as a little backup, just in case when I'm editing, I don't really like the way that update came out. Because besties, I have learned with time, it is better safe than sorry. Tales from the Cafe, however, the second book in the Before the Coffee Gets Cold series, I am really enjoying this so far, and I forgot how magical and poignant the series is. I've obviously only read book one, but I really enjoyed it when I read it. This series establishes a world in which there is almost this legend, they say, about this coffee shop called Funicula that is able to bring you to the past to a very specific event where you are able to meet a specific somebody from your life and essentially mend your mistakes, deal with your grief, and see them for one last time. This, however, happens under very specific circumstances, and there is a very established world building magic system to this specific event. So we know that these characters are only able to go back to the past to meet this person specifically if both of them have gone to this coffee shop before. Not only that, but it has to happen at a very specific table. It has got to happen whilst your coffee is still hot. So your traveling to the past happens over when your coffee is poured all the way to when it gets cold. And if you extend your time further than the coffee getting cold, then there are consequences that you must deal with as the customer of said coffee shop. There is also the advisory that although you were able to travel to the past and although you're able to talk to these people and that you're able to deal with whatever it is that you're seeking, you cannot change the past, the present, or the future. These things are set in stone, and no matter what you say, there is no altering the events that have already happened or that will happen. And so this second installment starts out with Gotaro, and we see him specifically coming to the coffee shop after having visited it 22 years in the past with a friend and a rugby teammate called Shuichi. At the time of them re-meeting, he was not only homeless, but had nothing to eat, nowhere to go, he had no support system. And upon meeting Shuichi, he gets offered a job and a place to stay and essentially a means to get past all of his hurdles, and this comes after mismanaging his money, losing everything he had, and not making the greatest of choices. So we could say that Gotaro as our character really owed a lot to Shuichi given the circumstances of his life. Flash forward 22 years in the future, we know that Shuichi is dead. Not only that, but Gotaro is also raising his daughter, and he holds a lot of regret for how he has handled things, and he still mourns the loss of his friend that essentially helped him rebuild his life. And so as he gets into this coffee shop and he is begging to be taken back to the past, we know that he has not been forthcoming to his daughter figure about not actually being his biological father. We know that there are things he regrets doing, regrets saying, and things that he wishes he could change. And so he comes to this coffee shop with a lot of regret, and he is almost seeking forgiveness from Shuichi based on the decisions that he has made in regards to his daughter. And so we see him go to the past, talk to Shuichi, and the story kind of goes from there. What I love about this series, however, which is an ongoing thread from book 1 to book 2, is the fact that it almost emphasizes that although these characters are seeking very specific experiences, they want very specific things, what you want does not equate to what you need. And this coffee shop, in a way, is there to lend you the experience that you need, so it might not necessarily go how you expect it to. And I really love it, because I think often when, as humans, we reminisce about all of these different experiences that we have had and all of these different incidences and the people that we have met, we turn it over in our head, oh, I should have said this, or I should have done that, or I could have handled this better. But what do you take out of these things? What do you learn, and do you apply that later on? And I love that every time a character goes to Funicula, they essentially get the lesson that they need, and they realize these things, that although you're walking in with a purpose, the universe might not echo that back to you. And I really, really love it about the series. So far we are off to a good start. I am really enjoying it. I am on to the second short story. And I think what I also love about the series, and what I think is so comforting about it, is that you also get the same cast of characters for the coffee shop specifically. So it feels almost reassuring that you're gonna see the same people over and over again whilst getting different short stories. And you also see and further find out in this one certain aspects of the coffee shop that seem so mystical that we got to see in book 1 that weren't necessarily explained, but you get to see the lore behind it in this one, and it is no less than heartbreaking. I really, really am enjoying my time. I can't wait to see what the other short stories will bring. I am not sure how many this has. Does it have a table of contents? Sometimes they'll have it, but I'm not sure that I saw one. Oh no, yeah, it's got 4 short stories, so not bad at all. We will see how far I get into this tonight, and I will inform you later on to see if I either got close to the end or finished this. I have 120 pages left, so it's definitely doable. There is, however, Love Island tonight, so I definitely will be taking a Love Island break. It's a love-hate relationship at this point. I'm hating this season, but I can't stop watching it, so I'll be tuning in, I suppose. However, I am about to sit down and keep on reading. So I'll come in with further updates, probably not any more specifics about the rest of the book, because I definitely don't want to dive too into every short story in fear of obviously saying a little too much. Stay tuned and find out, but hopefully we'll have something else to talk about by the end of this, because that'll be great. I'm comparing updates, friends, because I have finished Before the Coffee Gets Cold, Tales from the Cafe, and I've decided to rate this a 3-star. I think what's a little bit conflicting about a series like this is that it can often feel very one note, and even if some of the short stories lend out really beautiful lessons and they have got some really beautiful messaging, it can often feel like either more of the same or like they're not really that interesting. And while I loved 2 of the short stories in this particular book, I didn't love the other 2. So I loved half of it and then the other half kind of fell stale for me. I think the second short story was my favorite. Follow Yukio, who has always yearned to be a professional potter, who owns his own pottery studio. However, the circumstances of his life have not really worked out the way that he wanted them, and he has found himself penniless, struggling, and one of his biggest regrets really was how he handled his relationship with his mom, and all of that is showcased through the lens of him again yearning for this dream so bad, but never getting to a spot where he can say that he is successful at what he has chased repeatedly throughout the years. And I dog-eared, in fact, 2 pages from that specific short story collection because there's this quote that I really loved, which is, "I want to find work that is worth spending a lifetime on." And again, the whole emphasis of the second short story is about finding your path in the arts and how that can often be so difficult because, I mean, you know the saying like, oh, he's a starving artist, o te vas a morir de hambre si persigues las artes, because there is this idea that if you pursue something in that specific path, that often the return of investment is not as big as the amount of energy and effort that you put into it. And we specifically see a character that not only mentored under somebody who did find his path and that was very successful, but that again longs for that same thing and longs to be able to do something with his life that feels worthwhile without sacrificing his enjoyment of it. And I thought that about the short story was really beautiful, all while still exploring his grief over his mother and his estranged relationship to his sister. I really enjoyed the second short story. I think it was probably the strongest out of all of them. However, the rest of it just fell a little bit flat, even though it has some really beautiful moments and maybe some worthwhile quotes. This didn't really fully hit the mark for me, and that is a little bit sad. I think also upon reading the biography for the author at the back and reading that he's actually a playwright makes total sense, because the way that the series is structured does remind me of a play following different characters and getting to see pieces of their life through small vignettes, even on stage. And the fact that, you know, these collections of short stories for the Before the Coffee Gets Cold series was essentially adapted from a 1110 productions play that he also wrote, which is fascinating, and you can tell because it reads that way. However, I do get to a point after having finished this one of wondering how much I want to read the other books in the series, because I think it's gonna be a little bit difficult for it to feel novel at this point after 8 short stories. I think it's 8, so we'll see what happens. I do have the third book, which is Before Your Memory Fades, so I do have that one. However, although I am gonna read that one hopefully sometime soon, I feel like books 4 and 5, and there's a 6th book as well that hasn't been translated to English yet. 6 books is a lot. For the same thing, it's a lot. Now, however, it is time to choose our next book in this video. And like I mentioned earlier on in the video as well, we first initially looked up book recommendations to choose our very first book. Now I'm thinking choosing something different to search might be the way to go. I think it'd be really interesting to see what results it lends out when I look for different things on Pinterest and see if maybe different books show up, because initially when we looked up book recommendations, what I saw was a bunch of books that I don't own, which is lovely, but it's not really the purpose of what I'm looking to do today, because I don't want to get a new book. I want to read stuff that I already own. So hopefully upon searching maybe book aesthetic or book mood board, bookish mood board, I still have yet to decide what it is that I want to search for. Maybe through looking up something that way, we would be able to get completely new books recommended and potentially find something in my shelves that I have not yet read. Welcome to Pinterest. Let's hope that I find something good, something that I already own, and that it won't really be that difficult for something that I own to show up during this spotlight search. So what I'm thinking we can look up this time, do we go for book aesthetic? We've already done book recommendations. Maybe book aesthetic. I could also just do books and see what happens. Maybe books would be a good search. I just don't know what. Oh, wait. Okay, that's not so bad. I do see immediately something I own. Let's browse. Let's see what options we have got here. So the very first thing is how to find love in a bookshop. I am interested in this book, however, I do not own it. The Convenience Store by the Sea is actually our August Patreon book club pick, so I definitely will not be reading that one. And I also don't own it physically yet because I have yet to order my copy. However, Heavenly Bodies, right after, we have got the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, the whole series. I do own the first book. I do own the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. Do I think it's necessarily giving this time of year? Maybe not, maybe yes. I mean, it'll be so subjective. We don't have fall here in Panama, so I don't think it really matters when I read it. It could be a cozy thing to read. It is very rainy today, so potentially could be something that we pick up. I don't know how to gauge this. Like, do I just go for the first thing I see? Ooh, that was unexpected, but this might just be the way to go. Also, that cup is cute as hell with the strawberries. I love it. I think we pick up the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. And I have the book right here, The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore. I have heard really conflicting things about this read. A lot of people seem to love it. A lot of people seem to be indifferent toward it. Some people hate it. I really don't know where I will fall with this book. However, it'll be an interesting experience for sure to read this one. So let us get into that. It says it's a small town spicy romance, something about a beloved pumpkin spice cafe, something or other about disrupting somebody's routine, and something or other about grumpy and sunshine and a city girl, small town boy, pumpkin spice lattes. Listen, is there any other time for me to read this but right now? No. So we can get into it and hopefully enjoy it and like it. So here we go. The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. Guys, we are currently sprinting on the main channel, which is always very, very fun. However, decisions have been made, conclusions have been reached in regards to the Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore. I am unfortunately not having the greatest time with this book, and I was very torn on whether or not to DNF this one, mostly because it's the type of book that's very bingeable, it's easy to read, it's accessible, and I very well could get through it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I should, especially because I'm not enjoying it. So I have reached page 211, which is 55% of the book. At present, the characters do not know each other. So to give you the rundown of what this book is about, we follow our main character, Jeannie, who is originally from Boston. However, her aunt decides that she wants to retire from owning her small town cafe, and she wants to travel the Caribbean and just live the high life because it is mighty time that she enjoys some time by herself. She decides to give this coffee shop to her niece Jeannie, who then moves from Boston to this small town called Dream Harbor in order to run said cafe and become the new full-fledged owner of said establishment. While she is there, she ends up meeting a lot of the different town folk, including Logan, who is her supplier for all things veggies and fruits, and it is the same person that she'll end up falling in love with through a variety of circumstances that happen throughout the first 200 pages. Listen, it's interesting because this is the type of book that I wouldn't necessarily be into. The characters rarely know each other. He feels like he has got to fix her and every situation that she finds herself in, which is interesting given the fact that we know he's a fixer and he gets upset when he can't fix things, but we don't know why he's a fixer. She is extremely insecure and she feels like a burden constantly. She feels like she's always too much, but she also feels lonely and she doesn't have any friends, and it's very difficult for her to socialize, even though we don't know why that is the case either. And then on top of that, I don't think either of them have got very distinctive personalities. Like, they are as stale as rice cakes, okay? It is bad. And every single one of their interactions is them being flustered with each other. It's her saying that she likes how rugged he is and how, you know, he wears this flannel and it's like really hot, and she almost develops like this fantasy, this kink for the hot cowboy farmer, while he looks at her and he goes, oh, like, she's really adorable and I shouldn't fall for her because I am known to fall for women very quickly without kind of vetting them thoroughly. And their spark, their romance, their relationship, whatever we can call this, develops way too quickly without them knowing each other. And the worst part is that the book is self-aware in that sense, and the book continuously reminds you that they don't know each other. Because when they think about how much they want to bang each other or be with each other or whatever, they explicitly tell you, despite the fact that I don't know him, even though I don't know him that well, even though I don't know her that well. And I think it's putting front and center my main issue with the book, that there's no substance to this. And if you guys know the type of romance book I like, it's the complete opposite of this. And I can vibe with like a fun, cutesy romance so long as it's got something to hold on to. And there's nothing, because I don't know Jeannie. I know Logan a little bit more than I do her, but really not by a lot, because there's only this one event that keeps being referenced, honestly, for the two of them, which is the trauma that in a way fuels them to switch up the way that they act and wanting to be new people and behave differently, and ultimately pushes them together. But they're so insubstantial that it bothers me when I see them together and when I see them be so horny for each other and like so ready to like do all these different things. So I unfortunately will be DNFing this, because even though, again, it's fun, it's accessible, it's quick to get through, I can definitely see why people have enjoyed this as much as they have. It's just not my type of romance book. And I have to come to terms with that. And that is totally okay. And you know what the worst part is that this book starts out with a little author's note saying how the whole inspiration behind this, or I guess the book is dedicated to Gilmore Girls lovers and people who wish they could enter Stars Hollow and see Lorelai interact with Luke. And those are all things that I would love. Like, I love Gilmore Girls. I love the feel of Stars Hollow. I love Lorelai and Luke. I love the whole grumpy sunshine dynamic. Like, those are all things that I typically tend to really enjoy. And while I do think like some of those elements translate really well into the story, like I do think she knows what she's going for in that, again, grumpy sunshine dynamic, in the way that Lorelai in the show is very rambly. We also see Jeannie be very rambly. We see obviously Logan in this one be very reserved and almost standoffish, but almost always giving in to her despite not understanding why. Like, he knows that he likes her, but he keeps reminding himself that he shouldn't, but like he really makes no effort at all to prevent that from happening. I see all of that, and then there's like town hall meetings and the town folk coming together to make decisions on what's going to happen in Dream Harbor, very akin to Gilmore Girls. So like I understand where the inspiration's coming from. I just don't think the author is nailing it, simply because there is no character work in here. Also, the amount of times that the characters go, I have never seen that more in any other book in comparison to this one. And all of that is followed by ellipses, which I think it's a double-edged sword. If you know how to use them, they can build suspense, but otherwise it's just overused. And there are pages that have got way too many of them. And you know it's bad when the character's rambling translates into incomplete sentences that don't really go anywhere. So it almost feels like we're wasting words and paper and like we're trying to reach a word count. And I understand that it's like a personality trait, but at the end of the day, getting the characters to go, actually, not that interesting. It's not, you know, it's not my preferred version of dialogue. And I understand why there's a certain appeal for this book, but this is just definitely not what I'd regularly gravitate toward. I thought it would be, just because it seems like really cozy and it just seems like a really good in general vibe, which is why I was so interested in this and why I owned it. However, upon reading it, totally different vibe, especially I think totally different vibe to how people sell this book. So I was lied to by the people, which is not the first time, and we have got to let this go. So we are DNFing this, and we've got to choose another book. I just don't know that we are going to choose a new book today. We might end up doing that tomorrow morning because I'm currently sprinting, and if I screen record in any way, I know the screen is going to lag just a little bit and we might freeze. So we might have to wait until tomorrow to choose a new book, though we might also just choose another one tonight before I go to bed. All of that to say, I think I should have known to DNF this book when I heard that the alpaca was named Harry Styles. And further along, when I found out there were animals named after Taylor Swift, I should have known. And you know, when I said, oh, we might choose tomorrow morning to kind of give me a night's rest, no, we're gonna choose right now, because I am very excited to see what I end up reading next. And even though it is 12:47 a.m. and we just finished sprints and I'm looking kind of crazy, my makeup, it's like, it's already doing what the makeup will do once you've had it on for like 10 hours. I want to see what I'm going to read next, because I want to wake up early tomorrow and read some of that in bed before I hop onto a Patreon stream I have got tomorrow morning. And in general, after a 3-star and a DNF, I need something good. So let's look at Pinterest right now. And we have got to choose what keyword I'm going to be looking up today, because we've done books, we have done book recommendations. Maybe books to read would be a good one. Either that or book aesthetic, maybe bookish. See, the thing is, I don't know Pinterest enough to know what good buzzwords are for looking these things up, but maybe books to read would be a good one. So let us look that up and see what results this turns out, and hopefully it'll be something. I immediately see something that I have not read and I own. The first thing I see is A Study in Drowning. Again, the same picture as well for the Before the Coffee Gets Cold series. But the first thing I see is A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid, which I do own. I have not yet read it, and I have been, in fact, somewhat intimidated by this book. I have owned other Ava Reid books, and I have unhauled them, mostly because they didn't seem like my cup of tea down the line. This one, though, I am excited about because I don't know if it fully submits to like the dark academia aesthetic subgenre or if it's more light academia. All I know is that the cover is stunning. I have heard really amazing things about this book, and I'm hoping it'll be a good one. I did buy it, obviously, so I own it, so I've been excited to read it. In fact, I see like these little mood boards for A Study in Drowning, and it looks really nice. This one says, I will love you to ruination, yours or mine. And the aesthetic in general just looks very nice. I also see this one for A Study in Drowning, which also looks very cute. I see this fan art right here and I like it. This looks good. This looks like the type of YA book that I could vibe with if done well. So I'm excited about this one. In fact, let me fetch it from the shelves right now because it is literally within reach, so that I can take this to the bedroom with me and we can start it tomorrow morning bright and early. Well, technically today because it is 12:53, but bright and early. This book and me, we've got a date, and I'm very excited about it. Let's see what the first line in the book is, shall we? It began as all things did, a girl on the shore, terrified and desirous. The poster was as frayed and tattered as a page torn from someone's favorite book. Surely, Effie thought, that was intentional. It was printed on a thick yellow parchment, not unlike her drafting linens. The edges were curling in on themselves, either shyly or protectively, as if the parchment had a secret to hide. Effie used both hands to smooth the paper flat, then squinted at the curling script. Handwritten, it was smeared in several places. It was further obscured by a water stain of no discernible shape, like a birthmark or a growth of mold. I think I can vibe with this. Hopefully it'll be a good one. I've got no experience with this author either, but I am hoping that it'll treat us well. I mean, hopefully, fingers crossed. Hopefully we'll find a little gem. And I also, listen, it's short. It's like under 400 pages. Will we actually read 4 books in a video for once? We might. We'll see what happens with this one. Fingers crossed is good.
My hair looks positively crazy right now. Good morning, everybody. I comparing DNF updates actually on A Study in Drowning. I know, it sounds crazy. It has been a couple of days since we sat down to choose this book, and today I finally had time to sit down and read this morning, and after reading 122 pages of A Study in Drowning, I am deciding to DNF this because it is not what I expected. It's utilizing some plot points as potential plot twists, and I don't love the way this is going or where it's headed. And I also think that there are many things unaddressed in the story so far that it's trying to play off as these are things in world, but I think because they are in the realm of prejudice, and while the races and ethnicities in this book are entirely fictional, I wish that there was more nuance or more depth to what is being dropped in the lore or what is being dropped in the story. And because it isn't, I'm finding this experience incredibly frustrating because it is heading toward the realm of romance between these two characters without addressing the very clear prejudice and bias that our main character Effie has against Preston as the love interest. So to paint the picture of what this book is about, we follow Effie, who is an architectural student, and she always dreamed of being a part of the literature college. However, what I've gathered so far is that the literature program doesn't accept women specifically, so she had to settle for something else that she could study and find somewhat interesting, despite it not being the thing that she has always dreamed of. She gets into the architectural college, she's going about her experience, not very successfully because she doesn't really enjoy it, and one day, her favorite author's family, since the author has passed, has put out a contest to see who will win the opportunity to redesign this dead author's estate. She obviously applies, takes the opportunity because she loves this author. She actually wins the contest and she heads out to, I believe it's pronounced Reid, maybe, or Hyrith Manor. listen, I'm definitely butchering that. She heads out with obviously a lot of hope for this new opportunity, wanting to meet the family and see the estate and see everything that it's got to offer and attempt to draw up a plan that is enticing enough for the family to follow. However, when she gets there, she realizes that she is not the only student present at this manor, and that in fact, Preston, the very person she has grown to be very, I won't say hateful toward, but she's very, ooh, what word do I want to use here? Let's just say there's a lot of animosity from her side of things toward Preston. And when she realizes that he is there as a literature student, obviously seeking a very different experience because she's there for very different purposes, she slowly but surely figures out that maybe the only way forward in uncovering all of the manors and the family secrets might be to work together with this guy that she sort of loathes. And this whole loathing happens because she tries to check out a couple of library books and figures out that there's been one person to check all of them out. She later finds out it's him, and she goes on this whole spiel repeatedly, by the way, as to how he doesn't deserve to be a literature student because he's an Argantian, meaning a foreigner, meaning somebody that her country has been at war with for years now, and she doesn't think that he deserves to be in the literature college, that somebody of his stature, somebody of his background, somebody of his ethnicity should not get the privilege of reading these books, checking these books out, being in this manner, and getting the opportunities that she, as a person from her country, should. And she looks down on him a lot for it, and we know that it partly comes from her feeling inadequate and not being able to go to the literature school because she is a woman. However, she pins all of these things on race and ethnicity instead of her own sense of self-loathing, and we know where this is headed in terms of, ooh, these two characters are definitely going to get together and there's going to be a romance. However, she is so far up her prejudice against this man that I do not foresee myself enjoying that aspect of the romance. On top of things, I see where the book is taking the specific subject matter of sexual harassment in a school setting, which has been alluded to multiple times by our main character. And the book is treating it as if that's going to become a plot twist later on. And I don't know if it will be or not. I hope I'm wrong in that assumption or in that thought or in that theory, because I don't think SA should ever be a plot twist. I don't think I don't know. I know some people would disagree with me, but I just don't think it should be treated as a plot twist. In fact, the character thinks about her experience with this one professor repeatedly. We don't know what has happened, which is partly the reason why I think it's going to be a plot twist, because when she finally opens up, it'll be like this huge moment in the story. I don't know. I think that both of those things are making me not enjoy the experience as much as I could, and it's making me kind of loathe, funnily enough, the thought of moving on in the story and keeping up my reading of it. I think that the atmosphere that the author is building is really nice. Like, I think as far as nailing the academia aesthetic and the gothic aesthetic of it all, which very much aligns with Murden, who is the author that Effie really loves, and the whole story about like the fairy king and these spirits and whatnot. I think she's nailing that whole tone and that whole aesthetic. However, outside of that, the characters themselves are just not. I had to change the battery because story of my life. I'm always running out of battery. As I was saying, I think my issue with this mostly is the character, sadly. And even though she's nailing the aesthetic portion of it all, I don't think the aesthetic and atmosphere is enough to carry me through. So for as much as I would have loved to love this book, evidently I owned it, I think we have found another DNF. I'm not sure what percentage that takes us to as far as how far into this I'm DNFing it, but it's gotta go because I cannot, I cannot take another L in a single video. A 3-star, which is not entirely bad, but like a 3-star and 2 DNFs, I have to cut my losses and go. We're done. That's it. In fact, that is all we need. Because this is too much. So as I lay here looking all disheveled with my lion's mane, that is it for today, friends. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up down below. And let me know down in the comments if you have read any of the books I read in this video. How did you feel about them? Did you like them? Did you not? I would love to know all of that down in the comments. And if you've got any book recommendations, maybe things that you saw on the Pinterest when I was browsing, do let a girl know down in the comments. And if you reach the very end of the video, let us leave some coffee emojis, I guess, for our only remote success of this video before the coffee gets cold. So leave some coffee emojis down below if you got to the very end. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already for more content like this. And if you do want yours from this disheveled queen right here who woke up not too long ago and has just been reading, then Patreon is definitely the way to go. It is a great way to support the channel. It helps a ton actually to make this a more sustainable endeavor. It is always linked down below if you want heavy live streams and a lot of shenanigans and lots of Discord chats and just a lot of fun in general. It is always linked down below. It is probably, outside of watching the videos, the best way to support the channel. And by probably, I mean definitely. So you can check that out down below if you want to. Once more, thank you so much to Surfshark for sponsoring today's video. I will say it again. If you want to check them out, you can go to surfshark.com/Mel and use code MEL to get 4 extra free months of Surfshark VPN and enjoy everything that they've got to offer. I love you guys so much, and I will see you on the next one. Goodbye, sis.